Good day, everyone. Our lesson for the day is all about rudiments of music and its fundamentals. In this unit, you will learn technical aspects of music such as pitch and notation, the use of grand staff and ledger line, different clefs, intervals in major keys are also part of this unit. At the end of this unit, you're able to demonstrate understanding of musical element features in pitch notation in music. Identify the selected clefs formation and its purposes. Memorize perceptibly the notes in bass clef and treble clef. Apply knowledge and skills in music notation. Create an appropriate improvised piano. Analyze the harmonious relationship of both sharp and flat notes to each other. Find out the definition of intervals and their correlation of intonation using both sharp and flat notes. Understand the value of half step and whole step using the key of C major. Music described as written worksheet about symbols, specifying the pitch and precising the symbol into its factors. Pitch indicating such instructions about the sounds of music, whether it's low or maybe high. Symbols that indicate timing provide directions on how long to play or sing a piece of music. These symbols are truly combined to the ways for music notations. When you dominate the rudiments of music and its fundamentals, you will be able to read music notation and perform as musician or singer. The notation is commonly known as Western musical notation. Music pitches are designed by an alphabet letter as C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. In other musical notation, which is solfege syllables, are engaged to designated pitches as syllable formation letters as do, re, mi, fa, so, or sol, la, and ti or si. And it's more often to use by musicians than as singers. Here is the equivalent of pitch name to solfege syllables. C is do, D is re, E is mi, F is fa, G is sol, A is la, B is ti or si. So here's the figure of piano showing the repetition of notes according to the Western musical notation. Now let us discuss the staff, clefs, and ledger lines. The staff is the foundation upon which notes are drawn. The modern staff comprises 5 lines and 4 spaces. Every line or space on the staff represents a white key on the keyboard. Clefs assign individual notes to certain line or spaces. Two clefs are normally used, the treble clef and bass clef. First, we will discuss the treble clef. Treble clef is also called the G clef. The staff line which the clef wraps around, shown in red, is known as G. Any note placed on this line becomes G. The note on the space above G is A. Remember, there is not an H note. The note on the line above A is B. This process continues. We just ran out of room to place notes. What happens now? Ledger lines will solve our dilemma. A ledger line is a small line that extends the staff when we run out of room. With the ledger line drawn, we can place the A. Next, let's discuss the bass clef. Bass clef is also called the F clef. The staff line in between the two dots of the clef is F. We can now fill the rest of the staff with notes. Finally, we will discuss the grand staff, a theoretical staff consisting of 11 lines. Watch what happens when we eliminate the middle line. We end up with two regular staffs. By adding a treble clef to the top staff and a bass clef to the bottom staff, we can see the relationship between the two staffs. Notice how the two clefs are joined by the C, shown in red. This C is commonly called middle C, since it corresponds to the middle staff line on the grand staff. So now, let's have this treble clef or G clef. So para mas madali nating matatandaan yung mga notes na bumubuo sa treble clef or sa G clef, let's have this meaning. Sa space ng treble clef, dyan natin matatagpuan yung notes na F, A, C, and E. So sa madaling sabi, ang space notes ng G clef or treble clef ay phase. F, A, C, E. Now, how about in the line notes? Ang mga notes na bumubuo sa treble clef or G clef ay E, G, B, D, F. So pwede natin siyang lagyan ng meaning na every good boy deserves fudge. Every good boy deserves fudge. Again, space notes, face. Line notes, every good boy deserves fudge. Now we have bass clef or F clef. So para mas madali nating matatandaan yung mga notes na bumubuo sa space and lines ni F clef, let's have this meaning. In space notes, ang bumubuo kay bass clef or F clef ay notes na A, C, E, G. So pwede natin siyang bigyan ng meaning na all cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. Next, line notes. Ang mga notes na bumubuo sa lines ni bass clef or F clef ay G, B, D, F, and A. So pwede natin siyang lagyan ng meaning na grizzly bears don't fly airplanes. Grizzly bears don't fly airplanes. So again, space notes, all cows eat grass. Line notes, grizzly bears don't fly airplanes. The length of time that a note is played is called its note duration, which is determined by the type of note. The whole note has the longest note duration in modern music. The half note has half the duration of a whole note. Two half notes occupy the same amount of time as one whole note. The quarter note is a fourth or a quarter of a whole note. Four quarter notes occupy the same amount of time as one whole note. Two quarter notes equal the duration of a half note. Notes smaller in duration than a quarter note have flags. Each flag halves the value of a note. An eighth note has one flag. Therefore, two eighth notes occupy the same amount of time as one quarter note. A 16th note has two flags, having the value again. Two 16th notes equal the duration of an eighth note. Four 16th notes occupy the same amount of time as one quarter note. Although it is possible to have notes with three or more flags, they are seldom used. This chart displays the relationship of all five note types discussed in this lesson. Rests represent periods of silence in a measure. Each type of rest shares a duration with a certain type of note. For example, both a quarter rest and a quarter note occupy the same amount of time. While the note would make a sound, the rest is silent. To demonstrate this, let's fill a measure of 4/4 time with quarter notes. When played, all four notes sound. Next, we will replace the second quarter note with a quarter rest. When played, the second beat is now silent. Next, let's discuss the other types of rest. A whole rest occupies the same amount of time as a whole note. It is drawn as a box descending from the fourth staff line. A half rest occupies the same amount of time as a half note. It is drawn as a box ascending from the middle staff line. Like notes, rests can have flags. With one flag, an eighth rest has the same duration as an eighth note. With two flags, a 16th rest has the same duration as a 16th note. Although rarer, rests can have three or more flags. Use this chart for reference to rest duration. Pitch, sharp, flats, and natural notes. So before we start the topic, please create an improvised piano like this picture above. What is pitch and natural note? The pitch means that the note identifies on how the lowness or highness of it sounds. Pitch depends on the frequency, but musicians or singers usually not concerned to discuss the wavelengths of the frequencies. Instead, they give the different pitch name, which are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. This pitch name can be found on the white keys of keyboard, which called natural notes. What is sharp note and flat note? A sharp sign means the note that is half step higher than the natural note. A flat sign means the note that is half step lower than the natural note. Both flat and sharp can be found on the black keys of a keyboard. A half step or semitone is the distance from one key on the keyboard to the next adjacent key. Key 1 to key 2 is a half step since they are next to each other. A half step is not always from a white key to a black key. In this example, key 1 and key 2 are still next to each other. A whole step or whole tone or simply tone is the same distance as two half steps. Key 1 to key 3 is a whole step. Key 1 to key 2 is the first half step. Key 2 to key 3 is the second half step. An accidental is a sign used to raise or lower the pitch of a note. The first accidentals that we will discuss are the flat and the sharp. The flat lowers a note by a half step while the sharp rises a note by a half step. When typing or writing, you can use a number sign to represent a sharp and a B to represent a flat. Let's examine the black key in between C and D. So much better kung nasa harap nyo yung ginawa nyong improvised keyboard na may nakasulat na natural notes with sharps and flat para masundan nyo itong discussion. Let's examine the black key in between C and D. This key could be called C sharp since it is a half step above C. It could also be called D flat since it is half step below D. Another example would be E and F. E could also be called F flat since it is half step below F. Likewise, F could be called E sharp. Whenever a certain pitch has multiple names, it is called an enharmonic spelling. Next, let's discuss the double flat and the double sharp. While flats and sharps alter a note by a half step, the double flat and double sharp alter a note by a whole step. When typing, you can use a X to represent a double sharp and a BB to represent a double flat. For example, both D and E double flat have the same pitch since you can reach D by going a whole step or two half steps down from E. D also sounds the same as C double sharp since it is a whole step above C. Finally, a natural cancels out any accidental and return a note to its original white key. Major keys and scale. A scale is a variety of certain notes within an octave. It is made up of 7 notes. At the 8th note duplicates the first note, which in higher octave. The first scale that we will discuss is the major scale. The major scale is constructed with this formula. W's represent whole steps and H represent half step. Again, much better kung nakaharap sa inyo yung improvised piano na ginawa nyo para masundan nyo yung discussion natin. Let's build a C major scale. Our starting note will be C. From the C, we will take a whole step to D. From the D, we will take another whole step to E. Next, we will go up a half step to F. From F, the whole step will take us to G. Next is another whole step to A. The last whole step takes us to B. Finally, the half step returns us to C. C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Next, we will build the E-flat major scale. Our starting note will be E-flat. The first whole step takes us to F. The second whole step takes us to G. Notice that the half step from G takes us to A-flat, not A. The whole step from A-flat takes us to B-flat. The next whole step takes us to C. The next whole step takes us to D. Finally, the half step from D returns us to E-flat. E-flat major is E-flat, F, G, A-flat, B-flat, C, D, E-flat. Notice the E-flat major has 3 flats. Both E-flats only count once. For our final scale, we will build the D major scale. The first whole step takes us to E. From the E, the second whole step takes us to F sharp. The half step takes us to G. The whole step takes us to A. From A, the whole step takes us to B. From the B, the whole step takes us to C sharp. Finally, the half step returns us to D. D major is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. Notice that the D major has 2 sharps. It is possible to build any major scale. Just start on the first note and follow the formula. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. While there's only one major scale, 3 different variations of the minor scale exist. The minor scale that we will discuss is a natural minor. It is constructed with this formula. Whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Let's build an A natural minor scale. Our starting note will be A. From A, we take a whole step to B. Next, we take a half step to C. From C, a whole step takes us to D. Another whole step takes us to E. From E, we go up a half step to F. From F, a whole step takes us to G. Finally, the last whole step returns us to A. A natural minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Notice that the A natural minor scale has no notes with accidentals. Let's build an G sharp natural minor scale. Our starting note will be G sharp. From G sharp, we take a whole step to A sharp. Next, we take a half step to B. From B, a whole step takes us to C sharp. Another whole step takes us to D sharp. From D sharp, we go up a half step to E. From E, a whole step takes us to F sharp. Finally, the last whole step returns us to G sharp. G sharp natural minor is G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G sharp. Notice that the G sharp natural minor scale has 5 sharps. Next, we will construct the C natural minor scale. Our starting note will be C. The whole step takes us to D. From D, a half step takes us to E flat. The following whole step takes us to F. From F, a whole step takes us to G. The half step from G takes us to A flat. From A flat, we take a whole step to B flat. The final whole step returns us to C. C natural minor is C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. Notice that the C natural minor scale has 3 flats. I hope that you learned a lot from our lesson. See you on our next unit.